And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. The Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because, holy smoke, I actually still have the muscle memory of what I'm supposed to say and when I'm supposed to say it, even if I don't have the things written down that I actually kind of need tonight. So things look a little different. That's why. And part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. Go ahead and introduce you to the guys because it's going to be a little loosey-goosey tonight. You'll see. From the East Coast, where we don't know if there's a hurricane coming because people are attacking weather radar stations for some bizarre reason. Unrenowned Tech, good morning.
Morning. Maybe they've been playing too many video games like Rust or whatever, where somebody starts setting up little towers and such, and you don't want to walk near them because they'll shoot you with turrets. Oh wait, we don't do that in this country. Why are they attacking weather stations? Never mind.
We would be so lucky. And over on the left coast, where there might be particulate in the air, but nobody seems to have a weather station worth a damn anymore. IO Cloud, good evening.
Yeah, the particulates have been fun this past week. Was it Thursday? I basically passed out for 4 hours because I could not breathe. Hook up to my CPAP. I can breathe. Nice clean air. Yay! Mostly clean.
That's fair.
The particulate got to be about as bad as maybe 80 or 90. Now, most people can handle that, but my oxygen dropped down to 80%. I probably should have gone to the hospital. But with the wonderful things that are out here, like very icy roads, and having to get past ice jams and ice blocks, going to get medical help is potentially terminal.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
By the way, over in chat, Stephanie's saying that besides hi Stephanie, she's saying Sujin that you're a little bit more quiet, so you might want to up or pick up sensitivity a little bit.
And while we're at it, up yours too. The problem that I've got at the moment is that part of the reason why we've been gone is that I had a problem with computers. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to bore folks with the techie details of it all. The short version of it is the system upgrade that I was planning on doing as a voluntary thing when I stopped my radio shows. Well, it became a more you got to do it now kind of thing. Okay. So the computer that I'm working with currently is actually a donor system that was given to me. And I haven't had the proper opportunity to really go in, fine-tune things, which includes the audio system. May I also say, and I know that some people are going to go ahead and say, yeah, I agree with you. The audio system settings under previous editions of Microsoft Windows, because it's currently running Windows 10, were far and away easier to work with than the whole, well, we've detected this sound system, these outputs, and these inputs. Would you like to disable them or troubleshoot them? There's nothing for, I would like to manually adjust these pieces now. Thank you very kindly. Can I do that? No. It's not like years gone by where you could actually just, oh, okay, here are the settings for it. Can I up the sensitivity a little bit? Can I change this slider? Can I pan it easier? No, it's all hidden. So I haven't had the opportunity to go in there. Because the way it is right now is I'm literally using a new computer. It's a donor motherboard. It's a donated CPU. It's the only thing that I'm still using from the old setup is the video card and the hard drive. Well, I mean, obviously, I've still got the same webcam, the same monitors, but you know, I'm trying to have things work through correctly without accidentally overblowing the audio system. As it is, the audio is cranked up to about 75% out of the mixer board that I'm using, and I have no way of knowing if I'm overblowing everything on on YouTube and the stream. And it's not just a matter of like being loud on YouTube, it's also a matter of being distorted. And at the moment, like I said, I haven't had the opportunity to find out what it sounds like. And that's the way that it is. Stephanie, I will do what you know what? For how this is working out. By the way, what the hell is all of this? YouTube changed things again on the chat, didn't they? Thanks,
Oh, are you
YouTube.
talking about like the first place and second place stuff with the experience live chat stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I haven't looked that thing up yet. It has something to do with participation and response and a bunch of other crap, and it's just one of those things that's kind of weird.
Okay.
And you can also like pay certain channels, and
we don't have enough stuff for that.
We don't have that set up, but other people do.
Oh, you know, it's not a matter that we don't have it set up. It's that we're not eligible to even set that up.
Yeah.
All right. So to kind of help this along, I'm going to crank a whole bunch of items right now. I do not know if this is going to screw with Discord. I hope not. But just give me a couple of seconds over here. I am going to...
Murphy's Law.
Exactly. So I'm going to start by sliding the OBS audio to its max for my microphone. That is now maxed out. So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds, make sure that maybe, just maybe, I'm not overblown. I hope not, but we will see. That has changed up my audio on the on OBS itself.
So, Sujin, just so that you're aware, I also have YouTube open on another screen here. And I was playing back some of the previous audio. I am definitely louder than you.
Oh, I know.
Me too.
And you're not. Yeah, you too. But your audio as it stands is not. It's distinct. It's not crackling. It doesn't sound like it's being blown out. So I'm gonna play back after you change your settings and talk a little bit and listen to it again.
Well, the microphone in OBS, my microphone, is already now maxed out. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to slide the audio for the microphone in the mixer up. It's at about 75% as it is right now. And like I said, I'm afraid it's going to overdrive and is going to do bad things to Discord. So I'm going to twist that just a little bit up. That's up to about 80-ish% right now. How do I sound to you two?
You sound like Shu.
On Discord, you sound normal. Let me give me a second for YouTube to catch up.
All right. And while that's happening, I know that I'm still a little bit on the lower side. I can fix that.
YouTube sounds okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to crank it up just that much more. And that's about the 90% point. And I'm not going to change anything else at this point. Or at least I think everything's all right at the moment.
Yeah, Sujin's confirming the same thing I am. Nothing sounds blown out.
All right. That being the
And
case,
it is a little bit easier to hear you at this point. So yeah.
all right. Let me give it a little bit. You know what? At this point, that's maxed out. At this point, that is maxed out. As far as I can tell. Yeah, that should be maxed out. So, Discord still sounds okay?
Yeah, everything sounds fine, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then,
You still sound like Shoe to us.
all right. Then I'm going to bring your audio down just a little bit so that we are both at just about negative 20 dB. I know most of you folks are going to be like, what does that even mean? Don't worry about it. It means that we're going to be pretty much same. Or at least
What's
as far
funny
as the
is-
audio bars are concerned.
What's really amusing is that on my end of Discord, okay, and this only affects the settings that I personally hear you guys on Discord. Nothing to do with the YouTube channel. To hear you, Sujin, and you, Io, at approximately the same volume, I have Sujin set to about 175% on user volume, and I have Io set to 15.
Yeah, I had to do the same thing,
Uh,
and that's a Discord thing, and
It's a complete
Uh,
Discord thing.
it's
yeah.
it's
so I should probably turn myself down.
no.
Well, at this point, don't, because he's basically leveled us all off through OBS on his end, which is feeding into Discord. So if you start changing your settings to benefit me, it's actually going to make you very hard to hear on YouTube right now. And since my
Maybe I
user
want
volume,
that.
you're right, and my individual settings for you on Discord, they stay put, right? Discord remembers them. So in your case, don't change a thing.
Yeah.
Don't change, Io. You're great just the way you.
she's okay.
Excuse me. Sorry, it was hard to swallow.
Little practice
And I
might
was-
help you on that one.
And I was going to break into some of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
It's fine. In any case,
Hey, if I didn't rib on you, it's because if I didn't rib on you, it meant that I didn't like you. So
Yeah.
so how about I get things going, because things are a little bit different, and you will notice that very quickly momentarily. We'll see what we can do about me getting things organized a little bit differently. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle is going to start right now. And, apropos technology, there's a lot of things that we kind of take for granted in the current day and age, not the least of which is how much storage we have available at our fingertips. I'm going to show you something that is my problem. It's this drive right here. This is the one that's causing all the problems that I've run into. This is my data drive that I'm showing. 2 terabytes. The way that Linux operates is that very similar to like Windows, you've got your main operating system that goes into its own individual folders, and then you've got a folder specifically set aside for the user and whatever information they want to do, whatever settings they've got, and whatever programs. Well, I had it set up so that my boot drive was just that, and that all of my personal stuff, customizations, all of my everything was on this drive, instead of it just being a storehouse temporary for data before it gets shuttled across my network and onto my server, which is getting rebuilt, so that I could just keep everything safe that way. See, the problem was I decided to do it this way so that if I needed to redo the boot drive, well, I could effectively, I could nuke and pave the boot drive and put any old version of Linux I wanted on it and just tell it that my home directory is on that drive and, go fetch. And it should just go, oh, okay. What do you want to do? Well, unfortunately, there is an error that popped up. I can't quote you directly what the error was because I don't really remember exactly what it was. It was a long day today. I'll explain about that a little bit later. But the magic bit flipped. Now, there's some very techie guys out there who are just collectively puckering their sphincters. And rightly so. Basically, try to imagine that you've got a book. You've got a whole bunch of stuff written in it, but somebody took the table of contents out. Well, they kind of ripped it into a couple of pieces, but they put all the pieces, still there. So technically you can kind of move everything back into place again, tape it down and then be able to figure out where every page is with all of its information. That's kind of where I'm at with that. And it's a lot of data that's in there. There's nothing that's irreparable, I don't think. But it's going to be a pain in the ass to get it out of there. And then once that happens, I'm not going to trust that drive ever again. And why should I? But the amount of information that we can store on these just off-the-shelf products, my God, I can't even begin to explain how much information gets stored onto these things. What we could lose, what we could potentially lose. That's part of the reason why changing, evolving technology isn't always a good thing. Because you always have to have a backup. You have to have something that's going to save your ass when it finally breaks. That's why mechanical media, books, magazines, audio tape, audio cassettes, vinyl records, where the information is literally engraven in the medium itself. You look at it close enough, you can actually see the wave of sound. But these days, it's become the black box. You don't know what goes on inside the black box. And I mean, sure, there's ways of figuring it out and learning, but it's not something that's easily understood. So when someone goes ahead and tells you that, yeah, we can do that, it's going to cost you, know full well when there is a black box involved, there's a lot of information that's gone on behind the scenes. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of expertise. And yeah, you can Google information all you want and follow somebody else's tutorial on what to do. And basically I will. But this, imagine if there wasn't the information out there. And if maybe there were otherwise recoverable tax documents or videos or pictures, sound files. Be careful with what you've got. Make sure that you've got something that resembles a backup, because sure as shit, something's going to go wrong. There's a reason why we only believe in one God on this show. And his name is Murphy. Don't piss off Murphy. Now, normally about this point, we would go ahead and we would do the horrible scopes. We don't have them because I've been too stressed to be able to do them. So I have to figure out where I am with them and be able to get them back up and running again. So for the first time in a long time, Sorry, we just don't have them. Look at the bright side. It's a palate cleanser. And I have a book that somebody had sent me that was a whole bunch of horoscope things, and maybe I'll use that for inspiration to kind of help me along for that later. We'll see. Otherwise, getting rolling is episode 541 on the docket, Your Honor. So, what did I miss? What did I miss? Yeah, it's a reference to Hamilton. So, yeah, I've been gone, and things have been how they've been. Not great, but not nearly as bad. The biggest problem of the whole damn thing, believe it or not, is having to buy online hard drive rails, because 3.5-inch spinny disk hard drive enclosures do not fit into 5.25-inch bays without flopping around. And that's a bad thing. Electronics bumping against each other in metal enclosures. Nothing good can ever come of that.
Remember when the drives were 5.25-inch or bigger, and the 3.5-inch or the smaller sizes came out, but unless you had the cradle that came in the box with it, it was really hard to get like a third-party cradle. So we'd resort to rubber bands,
which is all well and good until they cook and dry out.
Yeah, no kidding.
And for those of you that are unaware,
and if you were smart, you used the nice big thick rubber bands so they would last longer, not those little thin ones that like a lot of the offices had hanging around.
For those of you that might be unaware, for any reason, by the way, this is one of the optical drives, the one that actually came out of my daily driver computer. It's an HP.
5.25-inch bay, yeah.
Yeah. And what Tech is talking about, the 5.25-inch enclosure size, it's a nice size. However, some of us had to contend with hard drives that were full height drives.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to half height drives.
Now put the other one on top for a full height drive. Okay. Now that's pretty square-ish. The first piece of RAM I ever held is if you take those two and put one of them on the back end of the other one so that they're long. Go ahead and do it on screen. Like the faceplate of one to the back of the other. That was the first piece of RAM I ever had. And it had to be bolted into place.
It's probably hand soldered too, come to think of it.
Probably. It was actually, I think it was made by IBM. Can't remember. But it had dip switches on it too. Because if it was the first one bolted on, you had to have the first dip switch in the on position.
Yeah.
And if you had it bolted on and it was the second one attached, you had to have the second dip switch on. And 1, 3, and 4 had to be down. And it can only support a maximum of 4 of bricks. And each one was 0.1 megabyte of RAM.
Yeah. So
yeah,
things have changed, and I'm still kind of working over stuff. And I will also show you all one more thing before we actually get into the meat and potatoes, because this stuff. One of the things that I will not fault HP for, and let me tell you, it's a stretch already for me up to this point, because HP and I have a very long history of not liking each other.
I still don't like HP.
I was trained to be an HP printer tech at one point.
Yeah, the way that you're a printer tech is, what model do they have? Bring a replacement and swap them. The computer case that I had bought, 13 years ago, is an H8 1414 Envy. One of the things that comes with in the bottom front is a hard drive enclosure cage to fit two 3.5-inch drives. These are the two big drives for me. These are mirrored in my RAID. These are the 14 terabyte drives that I shucked out of a couple of external hard drives enclosures. It was pretty inexpensive by comparison. Is it the best of ideas? Probably not, he says, while at the same time having saved a good $100. But these are going to go into the case and in the basement. And I intentionally put the bigger drives in here because they will then be mounted vertically, which will allow warm air to just naturally evacuate out and cool air to come in through the bottom, and it will just naturally radiate the heat out. And being that it's going to be in my basement, it doesn't need a lot of convection because it's pretty cool down there most of the time anyway. So, smart on my part, but let me tell you, terrified of moving these and having anything bounce because I do not want to have to rebuild a RAID array. Because starting off that RAID array, building it, it took the better part of a week. So we're not going to screw with that.
Yeah, I had my when I was a server administrator, right, and network technician, I had my fair share of dealing with RAID arrays. And, oh, it gets really fun when you have like 16 drives.
Yep. So in this case, being that it's effectively just a desktop computer that's been turned into a glorified desktop
Server.
computer,
Yeah.
you know, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So for the individual who sent me the donor motherboard and CPU and RAM and a new-ish video card with only DVI outputs, I'm not ragging on you. It's just really cool because it's the first time I've actually seen one that had only DVI outputs out the back, which is a pain in the ass because I'm trying to find a DVI to VGA adapter, and I've got a DVI to HDMI, and well, you know what? It's going to be easier for me to just buy a cheap ass monitor with an HDMI port on it at the shop for $10 or something. So it'd be fine. Now the reason why I wanted to kind of bring all this stuff up now is because, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that folks have missed. We're sorry for having missed shows. It happens. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while there is, that week off that just, it is what it is. It's not like the days gone by where, Dallin could come on and run the show. It doesn't work easily that way anymore. So we're going to be doing, a little bit of a shorter show. It's going to be a lot more, nowhere and everywhere all at the same time. So if we miss something, sorry about that. So let me tell you what you guys missed for today for me. I left the Buffalo Market today with the little one, and we went out to Rochester for Rochester Pride. It's a great time. We'd been out there once before, a different location, and the weather was okay. It was kind of hot. There was not nearly enough of a breeze, but let me tell you, the opportunity to see all these people out there of all sexualities, of all genders, and a couple of furries showing up too, like me, because I was wearing my Hawaiian shirt and my the racer shirt that I've got over here for the shadow bolts from the My Little Pony thing. It was great. It was absolutely so much fun. It really was. A lot of people, a lot of body ink. And you know what? So little drama of any kind. I mean, even yes, there were a couple of runs that the ambulances had to make. I'm assuming because of the heat. But you know what? Grand scheme, everybody had a great time, man. Everybody had a great time. And I even got to say a quick hello to the folks that were there from the New York State chapter for the ACLU. Now, I do not know if they were listening tonight. They could be. I left my information with them for the show. Because when I stopped over there, I said hi, and I said, for you guys from one very small part of the atheist community, thank you for what you do, and you guys have a great day. And I was going to leave. And, after being nice and saying whatnot, there were two folks there, and one of them was going to go off to go get water. And they're leaving, and I'm just like, well, no, wait a minute. So I come back over to the other person. I'm just like, question for you. Yeah. How much is water for you guys? Oh no, you don't have to do that. No. You want to shut up right about now, because we then have to ask the question, and you have to uncomfortably answer the question. The question is going to be, are you allowed to accept money, a gratuity, just because? I don't think that you're really allowed to. So I'm gonna ask the question again. How much is water for you guys? And she finally kind of understood. And she said, well, it's probably like about $2 or something like that. I'm like, fine. Here is your $2. Your water is comped by someone who wants to say thank you. Wrote the information on a post-it note, gave it to her for the show for tonight. I'm like, you guys have yourselves a good day. Safe travels. Thank you for everything that you do. Just because. Just because. And you know what? It costs nothing to not be a dick. Isn't that great? I know one of you two was about to say something. Go ahead, say it now. Or, maybe not.
Oh, didn't you know? We like to conspire against you in order to keep you honest.
I'm always honest.
You might want to check the DJ chat or the host chat.
Well, I would be more than happy to go ahead and do that when I can, turn my head, when I don't have to worry about, paying attention to everything else, which means one of you needs to talk. Oh, that's right. You were just talking. How about you go ahead and you talk? Well, I do
About
that.
what?
I don't care. It gets me off of the main so that I can look and see what it is that you want me to see.
I'm just studying up for my next 2 weeks of mischief and mayhem. That's all. Just studying up a little bit.
Cool.
Tech, help me out. Tech, help me out.
Tech,
What?
Thank you.
Don't help me out. Don't help me out. That's not a line from a song or a movie. That's a directive.
Too late.
Why?
Because it's a useless endeavor.
You already have them.
I'm sorry. What part of Radio Shack is already saving my ass. All I need to do is to get a different monitor from the shop that I get a discount at. Remember.
Yeah, but this way you don't even have to worry about monitors.
Madon.
Say thank you, Shu.
Tech, do you speak Italian? Let me rephrase. Do you speak something other than somatic Italian?
You should not know me that well. Damn it. I can read an Italian menu. If it's food related, sure.
Mavangul. For anyone that speaks Italian, yes, I know full well my pronunciation is atrocious. But you know what I said. You know what I'm getting away with. And for anybody that's wondering, what did I just say? Not going to repeat myself because I shouldn't. In any case.
Shu,
Yep.
how do I put this in simple terms?
You just did.
No, Tech, Dallin, Roxy, Felis, me, others, we're like your number one fans. If it helps you, we'll do it.
Can I have about 14 grand?
If I manage to pull that on my ass at the casino after my bills, sure.
Dude, if I win the lottery, I will send you a Visa card, a Visa prepaid card with 14 grand on it.
Same.
Well,
Although I don't generally play the lottery.
Well, that's 28 grand I'll be getting right there. I'll plan for that shortly before the slab tab comes through. Thanks.
Shortly before the coming of
The slab tab. Thank
next coming.
you. Considering how tired I am,
He's
yeah, that's
talking
gonna
about
that's
a
gonna take
headstone, Io.
There won't be a
I know,
headstone for
I
me.
know.
No, the headstone for me is going to be the Long Island Sound. Don't worry about it. So what else did...
No, we're going to take you and we're going to take your ashes and we're going to send them off to this really cool place that turns your ashes into jewelry so that...
No.
Except for a small little
and
vial.
then we'll turn it into a nipple piercing.
No.
Except for a small little vial that Tiny can keep. That way, anytime that they miss you, they can shake it.
Now you put it in a snow globe.
No.
That too.
No.
What, you don't want to become jewelry?
No. Ask me why.
You're no fun.
Ask me why.
Actually, I think one of the most interesting ones, and this is one of the options I gave my offspring as a choice of what to do with me when I pass on. One of the interesting options is that there is a company that when you pass on, they take your remains and they put it in a capsule with a sapling tree. And as your remains break down, it feeds the tree. And I thought that's absolutely beautiful. And then the tree goes into a protected orchard and is allowed to just grow. And I was just like, that's absolutely probably one of the most beautiful things I've heard with regards to a topic that many people find, lackluster in terms of casual conversation.
And
or more
there's no, and I think that folks should keep a database or spreadsheet or however you want to do it, a list of people that can be addressed to come to this forest so that they can visit. They can get down to their hands and knees, lean over, and give a loving kiss to that ash. It should be a very, very short list, but there should always be a list nonetheless for everyone in their lifetime.
Yeah, my only concern about knowing which tree it contains which it was used, which pod is associated with which tree, and the location of it is there's going to be some jerk, some lady or some guy who just loses their mind and decides to try to burn the forest to the ground. This, because we're not allowed to have nice things.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, like PBS.
Yeah, that kind of.
No kidding.
Yeah, the way that you're just talking about that, by the way, that kind of reminds me. So hi, Io, about burning down things. There's a lot of that shit going on right now, and it's not coming from the Canadian side for a change.
Huh?
And PBS being one of them.
And NPR being the other.
Oh, right, yeah. Let's see. What do we have in the local area for me to deal with? Oh, yay! There's a fire within 2 miles. But yes, PBS, The Tonight Show.
Yeah, we're going to hit that momentarily very hard.
I don't know. Stephen Colbert kind of hit it very hard on his own. With his wife's blessing, she's in charge of it, I just like, honey, I'm going to destroy my career. Okay, sweetie, you go ahead and do that.
Yeah, honestly.
All right, well, hold on a second. Let's back up so that folks understand
NPR
where
is
we
also
are.
burning up too.
Okay, so in order, NPR and PBS. NPR, the national broadcast, and national
Public Radio.
Thank you, National Public Radio. PBS, the public broadcasting service, are very heavily interlinked and intermixed. For television and radio broadcasting, these are, quote unquote, the subsidized services. And I say services because they are not out there for making money. They're out there as a service to the public. For those of you that are wondering, well, what's so great about PBS for television? I can name you 2 of the most outstanding television series that have ever come out of that service. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Sesame Street.
You missed one.
No.
I can name a couple more.
No.
Cosmos with Carl Sagan.
No. And I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you exactly why no. Because if you want to make sure that you have a functioning society, sure, you want to make sure that they're educated. But if you don't have children who are nurtured, who have got to step up, who have got the very beginnings of understanding of how to count, how to speak, how to read in multiple languages, how to understand who others are, and how we're supposed to relate to each other in a functional society, Cosmos doesn't do shit. Mr. Rogers, who was an ordained Presbyterian minister, and I'm pretty sure I got that one right, never once had to invoke God or faith in order to have children feel admired, listened to. He never sped things up. He didn't dumb it down. He said, these are kids. Let's be with the kids. Let's listen to them. Let's teach them. Let's show them. And never once did he say, things are moving too slowly. Let's speed it up. It was always, what can they do and how do we match with them?
Yeah.
Can I add three more programs to that? First off, you're talking about Sesame Street, which teaches children how to read. But there's at least 2 shows that taught children why to read. Reading Rainbow and Between the Lions. There's more. For calmness and art, Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's more programs. For geography, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? I watched that program as a young adult in my 20s. I loved it. I played that game when I was in high school, and all I had was an atlas to try and figure this stuff out.
And reminding
Kids
folks,
today have it easy.
she's referring to the kids' game show, not the cartoon series.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Because some folks
kids' game show
kind of got it a little bit lost as to which was which sometimes. Very different theme songs also, might I add.
And then there's Nova, which not just children, but teenagers and adults. This is science. We're showing it to you. We're showing what people have discovered. And they try to hand it in a way that people can actually understand. Everything from a child in diapers to a senior can understand this.
And see, in 1969, President Richard Nixon proposed cutting over $1 billion. Now, 1969, over $1 billion. $1 billion back then went a lot further than it does today.
I think it loosely translated to fuck ton.
Yeah. But it was Nixon proposed cutting it from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Corporation for Public Broadcasting helps fund both NPR and PBS. And Fred Rogers, or Mr. Rogers, as the rest of us know him to be, he went before a Senate Subcommittee on Communications, and he spoke to them very calmly, very clearly, and very articulately in the defense of not cutting funding. And I've put in the host chat the link, because on YouTube you can watch his testimony
Again and again and again.
Do not need to take our word for it on what he says or how he says it. You can literally watch it for yourself. This is not AI scripted. AI scripting wasn't available back then.
It was a beautiful moment.
Yeah,
it was a beautiful moment because Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, went ahead and said, look, this is the reason for why my show is. And if you don't mind, could I read you part of one of the songs that I perform? And the guys over there at the committee is just like, it's a little unusual, but sure, okay, you have the floor. And he read the lyrics to one of his songs, reminding you, he wrote that music. He wrote the music, sometimes even performed some of the music. He sang the music. And John Costa, who was his piano player, what a glorious guy he was, because he played the hell out of everything from just off stage, literally right next to where the cameras were is where the trio was performing.
3 more shows: The Electric Company, 321 Contact, and Mallory Lewis is going to love me for mentioning this, but Lamb Chops Play Along with Her Mother Sherry. All these shows were to educate children.
Yeah.
And not just children, but also adults. Because if they were not properly educated through the school system, they could sit down and watch a day's worth of television programming with their children and learn things.
There is one line from Sesame Street that has become a bit of a joke because it's in the social consciousness. And it ended up showing up on, of all things, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Where Wayne Brady, I don't remember what the setup was, and I'm sure we can find the setup and everything. Wayne Brady goes up there, abierto, and he gets buzzed off, and everybody's having a good laugh, and he comes off the camera, and then he comes back a couple of seconds later before everybody's finished laughing, cerrado. And that was something from Sesame Street, Spanish. And I'm trying to remember. I do believe that abierto, cerrado are open and closed. If I remember correctly. It's been an exceptionally long time. But
I'm looking for it right now. Wayne Brady's Sesame Street brings up a whole bunch of shorts.
Of course it does. But it was Grover, if I remember correctly. Back before there was Elmo, there was Super Grover. And the waiter, of course, because, there was so much stuff. It was so good. And the investment in funding for these shows, for these services, it is simply incalculable. I grew up with Sesame Street, literally. I was born in March of 1969. Sesame Street premiered that September.
I was born June 1972. I had access to not only American Sesame Street, but Canadian Sesame Street, where it was about a month behind some of the stuff. But they also had, instead of the Spanish segments, French segments. Just like, and then I think a couple of years later, they actually switched to an all Canadian cast.
Yeah.
And other countries started to do their own Sesame Street.
Yeah, it's a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. And
Taco wants to get rid of PBS that started this. Taco wants to... Sorry, I get a little bit irritated because apparently when I was 7, I was speaking 5 different languages. Not much of each of the other languages because I was still little, but my mother had somebody come up to her after my equestrian camp and say thank you because nobody else around here has been speaking Spanish to me. I was speaking Spanish because I learned it on Sesame Street. My Spanish is Sesame Street level, that low, which is about maybe grade 2, grade 3 of Spanish immersion, but I've got that. It's up here in this head somewhere, which is probably why I've got all the accents down.
Yeah. And the question always came up. Bert and Ernie, are they or aren't they? As somebody officially put it from the show, they're puppets. Get over yourselves. I'm slightly paraphrasing, but that's really about it. You've got Gordon and Maria being married. No. It was Luis and Maria who were married. Mm-hmm. It was Susan and Gordon who were married, had a child. And the question, of course, is which Gordon, because there were about 3. Originally, Oscar was also orange. So, there you go.
There was originally 2 Gordons. There was one for a few episodes in 69, and then they switched to somebody else.
And then switched a third time, if I remember right.
And then Mr. Hooper. They handled the death of a beloved elderly member of the community wonderfully. And they brought Snuffleupagus out from just being Big Bird's imagination and proved, in order to teach children that, yes, adults are supposed to believe you when you say something to them. And also teach the adults, you're supposed to believe the kids when they say something to you.
Some folks don't know this part. And I've talked about how the actor who played Mr. Hooper was originally a blacklisted actor because of the big red scare at the time. And they took a big gamble employing him. But when he died, they held on to that production. They did not put it out when it was done and in the can and ready to go. They held on to it. They intentionally held on to it so that they could put it on the air on Thanksgiving. Not because they wanted to ruin people's lives, but because they wanted the kids to be surrounded with family who would be able to explain, to help them. My God, it wasn't about ratings. It was about making sure that the tiny little lives were nurtured and loved and surrounded with people who adored them and wanted to make sure that they had all of the answers that they could take in and all of the safety that they could be bestowed with. Where do you get that elsewhere? Except with something like this that is a service, not a money-making endeavor.
It wasn't just a service, it was a brilliant idea in order to educate children and reparent adults. Because a lot of the adults, they weren't properly parented.
No.
And even now, 50 years later, it's still a slow process. Gen X, if you were Gen X, you were basically sent outside for the day, and you were lucky if you got to come back in before the streetlights came on. And your parents actually got messages on the TV. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
I remember that.
I pointed it at my mother one time. See?
But there are pieces about it that even transcend that. Concepts of fair play. We've also mentioned about that before, that there have been experiments showing that even laboratory rats have it in them to play fair, to help one another, to be, in some respects, altruistic even. And part of that is the idea that everybody gets treated fair. Everybody's got an equal shot. Everybody wins or everybody loses, but it's done to try to help as many as possible altogether. So now what's going on? That's completely screwing with that? The rule of law. The checks and balances, the expectations, the legal moral framework is being simply left behind so that things that are illegitimate, if not illegal, are being allowed or even encouraged to be done. There's too many things to list. I mean, we could, but I mean, it is only a 2-hour show and it's not even going to be that long. So when we hear about these news pieces that are going on, the biggest problem that we've got has to be that they're a distraction. We have to be so cynical as to look at any breaking news article and just say, what's it distracting us from? What else is going on?
And everything is to try and distract us from
everything.
Taco's health and how many times he's mentioned in a set of files that have miraculously disappeared.
But they never existed.
They,
But they were made
yeah.
by...
One, I don't know if they were YouTuber or TikToker, and I've seen it repeated a couple times. The statement is that it's interesting that the only one that's being punished for the Epstein files is a woman. But I'm not even going to touch that right now. Sesame Street was created in order to help the inner city non-palm colored kids improve their education because the school systems were failing them, and it was for the inner city kids, it was for the black kids, it was for the Latinos, it was for the Italians, the Jewish, it was for everybody.
It was for the barrio.
Yeah, it was for everybody, but it was specifically for the poor. You know, stick a whole bunch of kids in front of a TV, and they all learned. They all learned. Ooh, Bill Nye the Science Guy. He was also on PBS. There's so much that has been ripped out of the public's ability to learn just by taking away the funding for PBS. NPR as well. Maybe not learning, but showing more of a different slant on things.
There it is. I have a CD in my collection right next to me. As an aside, literally right next to me, I have a 1.5 meters. Yeah, we'll call it 1.5 meters tall bunch of jewel cases with CDs, or maybe some movies in there too. Stuff that I've ripped for my home server. I have one over here. This CD would not exist were it not for NPR. Car Talk.
I'm not sure I know that one, but that's okay.
Click and Clack. Tom and Ray Magliozzi. Italian brothers. One of them is unfortunately since passed. The whole point of it was a show about cars. But it wasn't like Top Gear. It wasn't a let's go have vroom vroom fun. It was a couple of guys who knew cars inside and out, decades upon decades of experience, and they would have people call up, be part of the show, and say, look, I've got this car, this model year, this color. And this is the problem that I've got with it. This is what it's doing. This is what it's not doing. This is the sound that it makes. Okay, you can stop laughing. What's wrong with my car? Well, you know what? We're going to have a little fun at your expense first for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to tell you exactly what's wrong with your car. And they did. And it was fun. It was entertaining. And it was educational as hell.
There was a YouTuber I was watching within the last 24 hours. Let's see if I can find in my history. And he was actually discussing, he was discussing why we shouldn't be trusting the media right now. And all of a sudden, they had all these different channels, and every single one of the people that were anchoring and reading off the news was reading off the same thing, and it didn't matter which channel they were on. Could have been Fox, could have been CBS, could have been NBC, could have been ABC. They were all reading the exact same thing.
If memory serves, it was Sinclair Broadcasting. It was all Sinclair Broadcasting stations.
I don't know if it was Sinclair, but it just made me go, what the hell?
It could have been Sinclair. It could have been Gannett. there's only a handful of companies that actually own the vast majority of TV and radio stations these days. So, yeah, they've all got the same script because they're all under the same umbrella. And that's part of the reason why there is fear going on. So now we finally circle back around over to one of America's greats for informing people about the news and why it matters. And he's a goddamned comedian.
Here it is.
Jon Stewart. Now, I'm getting to Jon Stewart first because he's the one who was the catalyst. He was the one that went on these shows afterwards, these quote-unquote news programs, and told them, why is it that people who watch my shows are more informed, better informed about the news than when they watch your show? You're supposed to be a news presenter. I'm a comedian. What's wrong with this picture? Forget
What's
who it
wrong with
was.
this picture is that the news media is scared of what Taco and the current administration might do to them. CBS was threatened with having their license pulled. Other places as well, probably. And if they get their license pulled, they can't broadcast.
Which is almost accurate. So, Stephen Colbert, who took over the job on, I apologize for having my eyes closed right now. My contact lenses are a little on the dry side, right? So it is what it is. I know right where you guys are. You're right there. You're still right there. Stephen Colbert basically ran with the torch from Jon Stewart. They had a great time over on The Daily Show. They work off of each other like crazy, which you can see happen because every once in a while Jon has shown up on The Late Show when Stephen Colbert took it over. Who took it over, by the way, might I add? Was that from a one David Letterman? Perhaps. Am I remembering that correctly? Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Dave was a good man. Dave had words to say after the events in 2001 in New York City. He had things to say. He was a raw nerve who embodied a lot of hurt. Stephen Colbert took over the show from him, and he'd been running a long time on the air. And Stephen made the show his own, admittedly. And Stephen did the right thing. He called out hypocrisy and laziness and caving in the face of a bully. He called it all out. And now his show, it's not that he's being pulled from the show. The entire show is being axed. And as somebody pointed out, once upon a time ago, in 1969, the Smothers Brothers show was axed by CBS for exactly the same problem with Nixon. Sounds a little familiar when you start to put these things together, doesn't it? Tech, you and I are too young to remember the Smothers Brothers show and how scathing they were in their social commentary through their comedy.
Yeah, but I used to have my folks tell me about it.
Um, I remember Smothers Brothers because my grandfather wanted to make sure I was properly educated with all the old comedy acts.
And there are some comedy acts you cannot replicate. You just can't. And it's so good.
But I'd say there's a difference between what Nixon did and what's going on right now. And that difference is how it's being, what the cover story is, so to speak. Right? Smothers Brothers was pulled by CBS. But Stephen Colbert show being axed, the Late Show, is because it's being supposedly axed. It's not being axed. It won't be continued because the production group, company, whatever, that's buying out the channel has no interest in continuing it. There's a buyout or a merger of some sort that's going on.
Yeah,
And
pull the other leg. It plays Waltz and Matilda.
right, and
Yeah.
the other group is very Trump friendly. So it's just happening at a higher level as terms of an excuse. But yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it just
But the attack on NPR and PBS, that is the same as the Smothers Brothers.
and worse. Easily
Oh, yeah.
worse.
Yeah, because it's not just taking out one little news article or group in NPR or one show on PBS. It's taking out the whole, going after both platforms. It's one of the reasons why I'm donating to PBS. I actually still use PBS.
Well,
the
I'm sorry, go ahead.
the thing that I saw was somebody talking about how if the if the companies that advertised for whatever did it during the Colbert show instead funneled that money into PBS, it might survive. If they didn't care about the commercials, but instead could say, yes, we sponsored this program, this program, this program, and this program on PBS, a whole bunch of people would probably switch over to going after their products and buying them and supporting them.
There's
But
people-
of course, most of the giants funneled money to Trump.
There's a lot of people that are too young to remember. But I remember when PBS used to, on days I had to stay home from school because I was sick, I remember when PBS used to have like funding drives on television.
Oh, it still do.
Well, I haven't noticed. I also generally work a lot more.
Yeah.
But they'd bring people on, they'd talk, they'd dance, they'd sing, they'd entertain, they'd have conversations with callers. People
Red
call
Dwarf
in.
marathons.
Yep, the marathons. People call in and say what the channels and the shows that were on PBS meant to them. And some people would donate $1, some people would donate $10, some people donate $100.
And it was worth it.
Yeah, it was very worth it. It's still worth it.
And PBS, the channel PBS, depending on where you were in the market, could actually be going into Canada as well. We had PBS. They even, was it Bellingham or Seattle, whatever that station was, would mention Canada and would mention that they had a Vancouver station as well. It was the relay station, but still, they had that.
And here in the Buffalo market, I can still remember when, admittedly, this didn't happen nearly as often, but at night when the TV stations would terminate broadcasting or start in the morning, there would be the sign on or the sign off, as the case may be, and for the stations here in the Buffalo market, because of the market that they served, which was Western New York and Southern Ontario, they would sign on and off with the American national anthem and the Canadian national anthem. Why? Because they were helping both sides. Because I hate to inform some people, radio waves don't care about your little philosophical problems with these imaginary borders. Light doesn't care. Radio waves don't care. They travel where they travel because that's the way it works.
And in terms of borders, you have multiple religions all over the world. And one of the interesting things on PBS is that you can see that there's a show that aired. I don't know how many episodes. I think it was like 2 seasons. But it had a rabbi, it had somebody of the Islamic faith, and somebody of the Catholic faith, I believe. And they talked about the news, but they put it through the filter of faith. And from 3 different religions. And, when people talk about PBS being godless, it's like, really? Are you sure about that? You really want to take that? You really want to try to make that argument? Because PBS didn't really discriminate.
No. No, and
they
were not allowed to.
Because, of what they were and how they received their funding and everything else. And when people say, "Oh, my religion's being attacked," well, hey, asshole, Trump just attacked your religion. He just just attacked a network on the air to try to take it down. Okay, and how you feel about that? Oh, you voted for Trump and ICE just arrested your wife and or husband. How do you feel about that? And unfortunately, the sad answer is these people have drunk the Kool-Aid, so much of the Kool-Aid that they're not even thinking anymore. They're still Trump supporters.
Yeah.
They've lost their spouse, they've lost their children, and yet they've
lost their parents.
Or parents, or sister, or girlfriend, or boyfriend, or brother, or somebody close to them was taken by ICE.
Because of melanin.
Yeah.
Yes, because of this, or their last name.
And in some cases, people that were pillars of their community were taken.
Or someone because he had a memorial tattoo. Stephanie is also put over here, and I want to address this one really quickly, and I just want you guys to know, yeah, I'm really surprised I've made it this far with how I'm running down. So just be aware that very, very shortly we're going to be wrapping up. Stephanie had put PBS did not have the, quote, right religion. Because PBS was partially funded by the government, in our case, they had to abide by, well, amongst other things, the First Amendment. So if there was a group that wanted to be on, generally speaking, they couldn't say no based on religion directly. Now, it's entirely possible that they could just say, look, your production values do not adhere to the standards that we have, that would be perfectly viable. That'd be perfectly reasonable. Considering that I helped out for a little while at a local religious TV station here in the Buffalo market for a little while. And I want to be clear, it wasn't because I shared their Christianity. It was because I wanted the chance to play with their video toaster. If they had a good product, a good looking product, and prove that they had a market for it, I could see it working. I would think that there should be more to it, but a religious show or a religiously themed show, yeah, I could see that happening. A full gambit of them? No. No, there's plenty of other religious radio stations all over the map, and TV stations too. But yeah, I'm actually rather surprised that there isn't more outwardly atheist shows. But then again, I have to kind of come back to the fact that you can do good without pledging to any religion. Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
I've put a bunch of links, like Under the Desk News about NPR, an opinion by Robert Reich as why does Trump hate Sesame Street, as well as the Lincoln Project, and what will you tell your kids? I love them. They're awesome.
I think Trump is really upset because Kermit has proved that he's got a bigger dick than he does.
Elmo has a big... Never mind.
We're not going there. For those who haven't seen, I will have to make sure that the video is linked in there. It is a not safe for work link. I'm going to warn you all ahead of time that Kermit on Omegle, I think is what it was, displaying his cucumber. So there you go. Just be aware.
No. Let's not do that.
Okay, we'll save it for another night. But if you look on YouTube for Kermit, Omegle, cucumber, I'm sure you can find it for yourselves.
So, Taco and the current administration is trying to put together anything that can distract the general populace from the Epstein files and Taco's health.
And
there's suspicion that he has a catheter. There's suspicion that he has a diaper. There's suspicions that he has multiple IV sites because of multiple IVs that he's had to have. Vein issues. Basically, he's got congestive heart failure. If you look at him, and possibly kidney failure too, which comes with the congested heart failure. You start to fluid load and your heart can't handle it, and you start to swell. Where do you swell in the first place? In your legs. So they're trying to keep that out of the media, out of the public perception, because Trump is supposed to be the best. I am the best, the greatest president ever. Look at all the things I've done in my first 6 months. Blah, 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 blah. Dude, you've done nothing but cause strife, fear, chaos, deaths. Not even touching Donald Duck House, otherwise known as Alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah,
Dachau was the first of the camps.
Yeah, speaking of,
and it's just they're trying to distract us.
Yeah, I was speaking. Well, actually, Tech for a second here. Speaking of things that he's done in his 6 months over here, remind me, who's the head of the executive branch? Tech.
Tech.
Did you hit your mute button again?
I think he did.
Yes. I hit my inline mute button. Sorry. The President of the United States.
That office is currently. I'm not sure what the right term for it is.
Oompa Loompa Mussolini?
No, I was trying to find a proper term for occupied by, which also coincides with the term regime. Anyway, all right. So you know who is currently occupying that office.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me, does the IRS also fall under the auspice of the executive branch?
I don't know.
I might give you a hint.
Department
yes.
of Treasury.
Gonna give you a
yes.
hint.
I see the hints.
That was
The answer is yes.
That was rather dizzying. So if it falls under the auspice of the executive branch, and we know who's the head of the executive branch, and we know full well how his track record of getting rid of people and replacing them and making certain uncomfortable items of legislation just disappear. It's now been however many months. It's 6 months that he's been in office for the second time. So I'm wondering, Tech, about this point. When is the tax audit supposed to be done on his returns so that he can release his tax returns?
2050.
I'm just wondering here. Just kind of
2050.
Kind of spitballing just a little bit. If you've got a kind of insight as to when that might be done, do you think?
Never.
This will never be done.
I'm pointing this out because the son of a bitch is a lying, cheating, scamming, scummy. I was going to use a term that starts with the letter P, but I don't think that anybody here in their right mind would naturally refer to him as a poofter correctly. So, and right about now, I'm expecting that Stephanie's probably just like, yeah, I don't think that's the one you were thinking. You're right. It's not the one I was thinking of. But if we're not talking about Adobe file formats, I don't think that I can go any further than poofter. So we're going there.
Yeah, poofter. He's definitely a poofter. He admits it. In some of the recordings of him, he admits it. That not only is he attracted, but that he wants it.
To Adobe files. Adobe products.
Yeah, I don't think presidents are required to make their tax returns public.
No.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not required. They do it out of some
courtesy,
as a courtesy kind of thing. Yeah, but it is voluntary.
Yeah. Gerald Ford didn't release his, and
yeah, it's a relatively recent
according
thing.
According to efile.com, almost every president since Richard Nixon has made their tax returns public. The only exceptions are Donald Trump and Gerald Ford.
Okay. Curious, but
yeah.
And according to eFile, in 2021, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden ended up paying $148,687 in federal income taxes based on their total adjusted gross income of $610,000, blah blah. Over $610,000, right? Which, according to them, resulted in an effective tax rate of around 25%.
It's a good number.
And
it's a good number to start with.
This includes the presidential salary of roughly $400,000 plus passive income for each of them, including retirement and pension.
Good.
So, yeah, they they paid roughly about 25% tax rate. And if I remember correctly, somebody actually hacked and got Trump's tax return.
Well, we've heard that one several times, unfortunately, over the years.
Yeah. And
I'm pretty sure if that were the case, if it truly had happened, it would have been lodged somewhere and it would have been distributed immediately everywhere. I cannot imagine that anybody would actually hold on to that and just say, "Nah, you know what? I can let's respect the gentleman and not, completely ruin his life and everybody else's around him."
Stephanie mentions that Taco is basically a zombie by now, a walking corpse. Yeah, I'd say we can at Birdie's, definitely. And the best thing about Taco's desperate measures, Stephanie continues, is that they are not working to make his base forget about Epstein. It's just triggered a lot of quotes and recordings. I'm trying not to watch this stuff because I find it distressing and upsetting. I did a report about that man back when I was in like grade 8 or grade 9, grade 10 at the most, about how horrible of a landlord he was at the time. And I hated him then. I hated him on The Apprentice. I hated him in Home Alone 2. I think that was the one he was in.
Yep.
I hated him. I hated him. I still hate him. I think he's a deplorable man who never got punished for this bullshit he's pulled on people, and he's hurt too many. That's why I hate them.
It's true. Dad bailed him out of everything. His dad bailed him out. Tech, you know a little something about statistics. How the hell do you bankrupt a goddamned casino?
there's only two ways to bankrupt a casino. Either A, it's honest, like 100% pure honest, right? Or B, you embezzle.
Now, I'm not so sure
Embezzle.
about the first one because,
C.
remember, according to the statistics, the house always wins.
C. Tax write-off. The casino failed, you could write the entire thing off. Oh, look, the Trump Foundation has that much less in assets for you to tax me.
It's hypothetically possible for a casino to fail at 100% pure honesty, assuming that they're not blocking good players, that they're not blocking anybody. Because technically speaking, and this comes, and I remember watching an interview with a professional gambler. Card counting, if you're doing it without the aid of any kind of assistance, either human, computer, or otherwise, it's your own personal brain that's doing it, is not illegal. Okay? What ends up happening is when they realize that you're a card counter, they basically blacklist you. They turn down, they reduce the size of the payouts, they change out the person, the dealer of the decks, and so on and so on. They do these little things to make it not worth your while to stay there anymore. And then when you exit, you can't get in. They've called the other casinos. You're now, it is easier for any casino in America to ban or block a player, even if the casino is not in relation to any of the other surrounding casinos, because they all talk to each other. That network is so efficient. They have so much communication going on that it is easier for them to block another person than it is for you to go leave your home, get in your car, go to the grocery store, and pick up some canned goods and then go home. They can block a person and blacklist them across the entirety of Vegas faster than most people can do that. That's how interconnected and communicative they are. Now, if you have a casino that's not blocking card counters, that's not doing anything other than kicking out people who are doing things illegally, like tampering with the machines, using thumpers, tappers, or whatever you want to call them, or people who are bringing a team who are secretly looking at cards that they shouldn't be looking at.
Cheats.
Yeah. Other if the only thing they're doing is kicking out the legitimate cheaters who are truly breaking the law in terms of gambling, and they're not kicking out the card counters, and they're not kicking out the people who are really good at it, right? Depending on the amount of money that they're paying on taxes on the land, the rental, and everything else, and how much they're paying for people and security and everything else, it's hypothetically possible for the house to actually start lose money. That's why I said the two ways are either 100% pure honesty or embezzlement.
And Stephanie's also pointed out, bankrupting a casino is for washing dirty money. Can't imagine where any of that could have come from.
Joke from Roxy. How are the current administration and the Titanic different?
Ooh, the rats actually left the Titanic.
The
Titanic was an accident.
The Titanic is more underwater.
I like mine better.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna.
I just popped up and saw that she posted there, so
we're gonna hit one last thing.
burning food?
No. We're gonna hit one last thing, and then we're gonna get out of here. And we have to be exceedingly delicate about this. So I'm going to keep us very focused on one very specific aspect. There is a video that was released, claimed to be the raw footage of a jail cell. The expectation was that by releasing this footage, which it's never footage anymore. I wish there was a better word for it, but footage is when you're doing actual film. But we're not using videotape even, so footage doesn't exactly qualify. The video was supposed to be released in order to dissuade any concerns of impropriety regarding the particular jail cell in question that it was observing. Now, when some analytical people, forensics people who have expertise in this field, examined the video, they discovered something outstanding that for them was relatively simple to figure out and find out and to explain to everybody else. Either one of you guys know where this is about to go or have good enough ideas to how to explain it?
You talking about the missing minute?
The metadata holds everything.
That's the piece in particular.
Hmm? Yeah, I know exactly. I figured it out, and at first I thought it was from Alligator Alcatraz, but then your description moved it to
a different location.
Yeah, I know exactly what they're talking about. No, that was not self-done. That was other done.
And that's about as close to that edge as we're going to go.
Like I said, the only person being punished for those files is a woman. He didn't even get that far.
So, Tech, what did Digital Dog Cow teach us, and why is this line appropriate when we're talking about metadata?
Well, before we say what the line is, the reason why it's important to understand the line I'm about to say, how it applies to metadata. To give people a brief example of what can be accomplished with just a little bit of metadata. Metadata is the little details. Like if you go to Amazon.com and you want to buy something, you only want to buy something that's got 4 or 5 star review, right? And let's say it's a paper shredder, okay? You can do a search for paper shredder and you get a whole lot of stuff, but now you want to narrow it down. That's where you start using metadata. So now you can go on the left-hand side where you have your options. I want 4-star reviews and above only. You click that, you have selected to filter and only show those results that have that metadata tagged to it, okay? It's also like going on Netflix or Hulu going, I only want to see movies that are related to science fiction or religion or whatever. Those are metadata tags. When you create any kind of digital thing, okay, a digital construct of any kind, whether it's a representation of a movie that's going to be played or the movie itself, it contains metadata. And when you alter something, it futzes with that metadata. Okay, you may have corrupted or destroyed or removed that metadata, but now there is a scar, similar to like if you cut out a piece of cancer in the human body, you may have removed that cancer, but you're leaving a scar behind somewhere. Even if it's not visible to the naked eye, you have left a scar. And that's the same thing that happens to metadata in a very plain language way. When you alter a video, depending on how you alter it, if you cut it out, you're leaving a scar. If you modify it, there's going to be
a record.
There might be pixelation. There's a lot of things that can change. And the people who understand how this metadata is supposed to flow, what it's supposed to look like, and so on, not the video itself, but the underlying foundation of the video, the metadata function parts, have ways they're supposed to work depending on the media. When you have people who specialize in understanding that, and I know somebody like that, very close friend of mine, when they understand how that flow works, and this friend uses metadata to find criminals, by the way, and also to prove somebody's innocence, and they see that the metadata has been tampered with, then they can start looking for how it was tampered. Was this just a generic corruption caused by the failure of the media? Was this intentional? There are things that give it off. It's just like forensics on CSI or NCIS. When they go to a crime scene, the blood splatter and everything else all tells a story. So you have a specialist that goes in there and goes, hey, somebody altered this. We see in the metadata, so many minutes are missing. The appropriate phrase is, all is known. And the people who are scared by this are the same people who are trying to destroy education in this country, to make it so that only those with the interest in keeping things going down the path that they're going right now are the only ones who get educated. Going back to a time when only the wealthy and the people that they take a special interest in get the kind of education that creates people who can understand when the metadata is destroyed or tampered with, or even create people who can do so effectively, reducing the footprint or reducing the scarring, if you will. Like, you can have a lot of people that become plastic surgeons, but the best ones leave the kind of scars you don't see.
In short,
all is known.
Well, yeah, all is known. If you create a bunch of dummies, they'll vote how you tell them to.
Because they don't know any better. Because they
Smart.
don't know.
If you've taught somebody this is how you're supposed to think versus this is how you should think. Wait. This is how you could think. This is how you look at things. This is how you examine and test and try and figure it out. If you just tell somebody this is how you should think, and that's the only way you are allowed to think, you're going to get a whole bunch of dummies.
And this actually plays back into how our channel kind of started. Religion does this. The majority of religions tell you how to think, tell you what to believe, what information to ignore. This is just happening at a political level. That's why this channel has ended up becoming so many political topics, because the political arena has started becoming so toxic that it's actually overshadowing the toxicity of many religions right now.
Yeah, it is.
I 100% honesty. When we started doing this, when Sujin invited me onto the show and we started talking about religion, I never thought I'd see a day where, and I know, I fully support my military. I have truck with my government. I fully support, because I know my military allows me to have the freedoms that I have from the people who want to take it away from me. But right now, the people who want to take away my freedoms, the military can't actually fight. Only the general public can. And the general public is letting them do it. I honestly never thought I would see when my government was more of a threat to my personal freedoms than the religions in this country were. Never thought I'd see the day. Because if I did, I would have joined being a sidekick or, comic relief or whatever on a political based YouTube channel or podcast or whatever. I never thought I'd see this. I never thought I would talk more about my government than the religions in my country or the religions around the world.
The government.
Never thought I'd see this.
The government, the current administration, their followers are a cult. They have all the signs and symptoms of a cult. It doesn't matter what their leader has done, is doing, or is about to do. They don't care, because to them, he's akin to a deity. He's basically walking around on earth and Jesusing all over the place.
Oh, and by the way, ICE would have deported Jesus if he were real and he were to return. Oh, they'd lock him up and deport him.
Yeah. Yeah, not only would they deport him, MAGA would look at him and just basically
they'd disown him the same way that they already have.
And the worst part is, they're not the only ones.
No.
A lot of fundamentalists and other sects of religions and such here in the country, and other ones around the world, would say, nope, can't be him.
Yeah. I need to go ahead and just close matters up at this point. I'm going to say that you guys are done at this point. I apologize not asking you.
No, you're good, man. We're 5 minutes away, so.
What Tex said.
I'm done?
What Tex said about this show having become far and away more political than anything else. Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with him. I knew that there would be crossovers because religion influences incorrectly public policy.
I agree.
We've seen it too damn many times. Hell, we've talked about at least one incursion where religion invaded and took over the operation of a federal agency and got cleared out eventually. Memory serves, that was Project Snow White. We'll double check that and see about that before I turn in for the night. But the thing of it is, if we think back through the stages that brought us to this point, it makes perfect sense. It's readily apparent. Here and there's that step that just keeps walking right to the edge, and then just a little bit over the edge, and then just a little bit over the edge, and it makes sense after the fact. But that's exactly what the game has been for literally the entirety of my lifetime. One little wedge here, one little wedge there, one little piece. Just give us this one little concession. We'll give her what it is that you want, and we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Oh, yeah, we really can't do that because, it's too much money, it's too inconvenient. But just give us this one concession, and we'll just go ahead. But it's just not convenient. We don't have the infrastructure for it. We can't. But just give us the next piece. It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's nibbled to death by cats, as Londo best put it once. The problem is you don't realize the problem is there until somebody points it out for you. And sometimes they point it out way early. And they basically grab you by the ears, scream into your face, and let you know, this is what's happening. How do you not see this? And no, it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be that. I mean, why would you think that? Why would you ever think? Because it's what happens. We've seen it happen. And those who do not pay attention to history, something bad things happen. Again.
Are doomed to repeat it. That's the quote.
Yes, but that's not the point of the quote here. The point is, you don't have to remember what the quote is. You have to remember the little boy who kept yelling. He went ahead, he had a good laugh. Nobody's going to be coming when the time finally comes around. But it's not the people who are screaming, it's the ones who are saying, oh, it's going to be fine. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be that bad. It's going to be fine. No, that's not what happens. What happens is you're going to be left in the cold. And everybody else is going to have to find their way. For what it's worth, all of you who are doing your damnedest to burn down all these different things in order to make a more dumbed society in so many different ways of it. Once upon a time ago, houses were ripped apart by hand. They were torched. They were the medium that the public used to express their displeasure. Remember, history has a bad habit of repeating itself. You brought it up. Who knows? Maybe the public will just go ahead and do exactly what you want and repeat the past. And maybe keep you warm for the rest of your life. We're getting out of here with that because I think I'm going to be in trouble.
One last thing. I found a book. It was recommended to me to read. Howard Zim's A People's History of the United States from 1492 to about 2000 or so. It is the history of the United States, but not the history that was taught, not the whitewashed, oh, this didn't actually happen history. read it.
You got a link for us?
It's already in show notes.
Fair enough. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of your perspectives here, and you got something to think about for the week ahead. Minimally the week ahead. Over in the chat, guys, thank you. Lexa, Stephanie, grandly appreciated. I do not know if they would have been joining us, but if the contingent from the New York State ACLU group also happened to have shown up, thank you. And even if you didn't, thank you for doing the job that you guys do. It's appreciated. Io, thank you. Glad you were able to make it. You take care of yourself and just be real careful with battery discharges, eh?
I'm more careful about the icy roads out here.
That's fair.
God, I wish we had ice.
Wrong type of ice.
I know. I'm talking about the weather.
That's fair.
Little tiny icicles, also known as snowflakes.
The only type of ice that I like is in my cup, preferably crushed.
Or, at 30 Rockefeller Center,
Daiquiri.
but that's not for a couple months yet.
Daiquiri, margarita,
Or slush puppy.
Tech, thank you. Glad you were able to make it, and you take care of yourself too, huh?
Yeah, you guys too. Oh, fun fact. Dairy Queen has their own kind of icy. Several different flavors, and I had the cherry one the other day. And it tasted exactly like when you went to the old slush puppy machine and made a cherry icy.
They bought the slush puppy stuff, yes.
It's so good. Brings back my childhood. Because the gas station at the bottom of the street that I lived on had a slush puppy machine. And we were always going in and making crazy combinations. On a hot day, hit our bicycles, go down there, get the size that we want, and then just out in the parking lot of the store, of the gas station, in the shade of the store building, and enjoy our slush puppies.
Cool.
I was 5 years old, walking around in Ontario, unescorted by my mother, and I would have just enough money to go to the corner store to get a slush puppy. And it was the most glorious thing a little 5-year-old could get.
Cool. We got to go because I'm fading really fast. If you'd like to be in touch with us, folks, please take a swing over to the Discord channel. The link is in the show notes. Once I get my system up and running, I am going to be discontinuing service for the domain. It is no longer served its purpose. It no longer serves us a general purpose. So we're going to be remaining on social media and on YouTube, which is going to help out a number of different things. So we'll see you when we see you. Again, hopefully next week without an interruption this time. And by the way, Bridget, don't know that you're listening at this point, but I'll just, without giving anything away to anybody, good job. So until the next time, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. My Fujin. It should have been our 32nd wedding anniversary this past week. It should have been. I'm sorry it's not. But like I keep telling you, I am still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone. As always, good night.